All right, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and individuals. Thanks for taking the time to join. Appreciate those of you joining live. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those of you watching recording, thanks for taking the time as well. Welcome to Civic Entrepreneur, our workshop on civic entrepreneurship. Let's jump right in to the overview and background. So this is a new workshop series that's focused on civic entrepreneurship, grassroots organizing, and public policy with diversity, inclusion, and equity at its core. And we virtually journey throughout California and beyond to see how civic entrepreneurship and its themes are happening in real life or have happened in real life. And this workshop is held every Wednesday from 6:30 to 7 p.m. Via Zoom. This is our schedule for fall of 2022. So last week we talked about overview. Today we'll be talking about UC Merced and Chancellor Carol Tomlinson-Keasey. And then out weeks are still work in progress. We'll have a 2-week break in October, and then we'll come back for the remainder of October with 2 more workshops. And I have some dashes here for November, largely because my wife and I are expecting our second child, and that's the beginning of the window that we want to be ready, flexible. And then for sure by Thanksgiving week we'll be done. So in any case, we'll see how the rest of this goes, but we'll definitely have a handful of workshops by the time we're done. So let's jump to workshop number 2, which is about UC Merced and the founding chancellor of that university, Carol Tomlinson-Keasey. So recall that civic entrepreneurship and this workshop is focused on 6 themes of civic entrepreneurship, which is individual and community, creating common purpose, trust and accountability, building webs of responsibility, economy and society, strengthening the cycle between the two, people and place, making a creative connection, change and continuity, creating vigilance and renewal, and then lastly, idealism and pragmatism, building resilience of place. So what we'll do today is explore UC Merced. We'll learn more about its founding chancellor, Carol Tomlinson-Keasey, and then we'll talk about how those two, both the place and the person, relate to one or more of these themes, and then we'll wrap up with a brief discussion. So our learning objectives of this workshop are the following. First is to identify where UC Merced is in the state of California, describe founding chancellor Carol Tomlinson-Keasey, and explain how the chancellor relates to at least one of these civic entrepreneurship topics or areas. So where is UC Merced? Well, we're hanging out, there's my pen. We're hanging out in San Diego proper. UC Merced, if you somehow flew directly to it, would be right there. Now, most of the time we're gonna drive, which would means we go this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, over the Tehachapis, into Bakersfield, past Fresno, past a whole bunch of towns, and we eventually get to Merced. And for those of us who take the Amtrak, it would be like Amtrak to LA, and then you take a bus to Bakersfield, and then you take another Amtrak to Merced, and then you have to take a bus to the campus. One day we'll be able to go from at least close enough to the University of Merced or UC Merced to parts of the Central Valley on high-speed rail, but that's a ways away. So that's where UC Merced is, in the center of California. And for some context, it's about 2.5 hours southeast of San Francisco, about 2.5 hours from Sacramento, traffic barring. And then from LA, it's about 4.5. And then obviously from San Diego, it's about 6.5. So good distances away. Now, the question is, who was Carol Tomlinson-Keasey? You might be asking, who's this person that Dr. Franco wants to talk about? Well, I'm really excited to share with you about her because she's like one of my heroes. So what we'll do is we'll have the official background about her read to us, and then I'll share with you some anecdote or my experiences working with her when I was a student and the student body president at UC Merced at the same time that she was our chancellor, our leader. So let me go ahead and have this read out loud.
Carol Tomlinson.
And if you can just give me a thumbs up that you can hear that, that'd be great.
Tomlinson-Keasey was serving as vice provost for academic initiatives in the University of California Office of the President in 1998 when she was named by then UC President Richard Atkinson to organize and direct the planning effort for a new UC campus, which had been authorized by the UC Board of Regents in 1988 and sited in Merced in 1995. In 1999, Tomlinson-Keasey was appointed as founding Chancellor of UC Merced, and she immediately immersed herself in the arduous process of persuading legislators, business and community leaders, educators, interest groups and others that a major, UC-caliber research university in the heart of the San Joaquin Valley would bring lasting benefits to a largely underserved region of the state. Despite severe budget obstacles, environmental concerns, political hurdles and numerous other challenges, she managed to translate the dream of a new UC campus into a broadly supported vision of future greatness. She presided over the university's grand opening in September 2005 and oversaw its continued development through August 2006, when she stepped down to return to teaching and writing. She retired from the university in 2007. In her inaugural address on October 25, 2002, on the undeveloped site where the first buildings of the 10th UC campus would soon begin to rise, Tomlinson-Keasey vowed that UC Merced would keep the promise that California made to its citizens in 1868, when the University of California system was established. In classrooms and labs, in dormitories, over the din of cafeterias, in libraries that allow for quiet reflection, we will transform the lives of the next generation, she said. We will help educate the youth who will become our leaders, and we will help them understand the interdependence of peoples and nations. We will provide those engineers and scientists who will plan and deliver the next exuberant phase of technology. We will offer the tools of thought and encourage the imaginations of those who will care for the planet, find cures for diseases and nourish souls with the arts. We will provide unique research programs, internships, study abroad programs, and programs at the nation's and states' capitals, all with the intent of lighting an intellectual fire. In honor of her many contributions to UC Merced, the university's central quadrangle was named the Carol Tomlinson-Keasey Quad. In addition, both Tomlinson-Keasey and her husband, Dr. Blake Keasey, were awarded the UC Merced Chancellor's Medal for exceptional contribution to the university at the 2009 commencement ceremony. A distinguished developmental psychologist, Tomlinson-Keasey authored 3 books and dozens of articles, monographs, book chapters, and professional presentations on child and full life development, how gifted children realize their cognitive potential, career development of women, and numerous other topics in her field. Carol Tomlinson-Keasey died at age 66 on October 10, 2009, due to complications related to breast cancer.
So Carol was a gem. She was, in my mind, a civic entrepreneur because she was given the task of founding the 10th campus of the University of California. In comparison, there's 23 CSU campuses, and obviously at the community college level, there's 100 and now 15 physical campuses. And so building a new UC is a monumental task, largely because of the significant amount of resources that go into any physical infrastructure, but also the human infrastructure that undergirds it and helps the university itself accomplish its mission. And so when I first met Carol, I was a transfer student from Cerritos College. And I remember just seeing like this towering figure and like realizing that this was the person who led the charge, who was the pit bull, the bulldog to really drive home the argument at a local, state, and even in some cases national level, that this campus needs to be built in the San Joaquin Valley in Merced to help not only serve the immediate geographic populations, but the entire state. And so when you think about this idea of bringing together people from different walks and sectors of society, leading the way when times are tough, as they were back in the late 90s and in the early 2000s, and then just persevering through that entire process with health issues, with personnel issues, with construction issues, with massive, significant political issues. She's definitely is an all-star all around, and embodies that idea of making this significant change in people's lives and in the broader society. And so I'm happy to share with you who she is and what she's done. And let's take a little bit more kind of depth to as the campus experienced its 10th anniversary, which was in 2015. They had a short video recorded about celebrating the 10 years. And in that video, you'll hear some founders of the university, faculty, staff, and students reminiscing about Carol herself. So let me go ahead and open up that video. If you can just let me know you can hear the sound, but a little louder. And if it's too loud, let me know too.
There's a reason why it takes a long time to make a world-class campus, because it's something that builds slowly. But you also realize that the foundation is critical. And I think that's the important part of UC Merced.
We had a vision and we wanted to create something different, something new. We didn't want to create another of the first campuses. You know, UCLA and Berkeley were great places, but we didn't need to go there. We wanted to create something different.
It was amazing how the community really got behind this project and how hard they worked to make sure that Merced was the site that was selected.
There was this sense of excitement of having, being involved in something totally unique.
When I interviewed for the faculty position in January, they drove me out to the campus and they were just bulldozing the golf course at the time.
The very first Bobcat Day, there was a lot of grass, a lot of cows, and very little buildings up.
And we stood out on that patch of grass and she said, "This is UC Merced," and she pointed to where the campus was. And obviously most of the buildings weren't here, they were still under construction. And I looked up and I looked around and I was like, yeah, this is where I belong. This is where I should be.
And I remember there being a real feeling of participation and excitement, and the students sharing that same sense that the faculty and staff had, that we were doing something new and something special.
When I came out to Lake and saw campus, I thought this is a place that's starting and it's growing and it's building, and this is a place where I can start, grow and build myself.
I think what people don't really understand is the relationships that students had with the faculty. They were very personalized. I mean, I remember the first year we would have every single faculty member's or cell phone numbers. I mean, they were always available for us. It was seriously, we got a really private education in a public institution.
It always strikes me when I'm driving up to campus and looking out across the fields that we've built a lot in 10 years.
And I give a lot of credit to Carol TK because she was really an advocate and a pusher.
If Carol was still alive, Carol would cry when she'd see the students that we have here, because Carol gave her life for this place. Her vision was to create access for the people of the San Joaquin Valley and to provide space for students from throughout California, because space was becoming limited.
I think she was a real visionary. I think she laid the groundwork very nicely for what was to come. And she was undeterred. I mean, nobody was going to ruffle her feathers.
We call it the great leader theory, or the great person theory. So she was the right person at the right time to do the right things and to give all of us a great opportunity to either study here, work here, or build a career here. So for me, I think she exemplifies this campus and the experience that we've all had.
I can't believe what's happened in 10 years. I think another 10 years we're even going to be more surprised. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
Well, I see us as a much more mature university with over 10,000 undergraduates and hopefully more than 2,000 graduate students.
My connection to this place is definitely different than my connection to my undergrad, because my undergrad was that raw college experience that, I have this nostalgia for. And here it was much more being invested in building something great.
There's always challenges with things that are new, but ultimately it's been the right choice because it's given me a new way of thinking about things, a new way of thinking about the world, and hopefully I can build on those skills in the future, wherever that takes me.
And I hope that we continue to be something special, because I think this campus really is special. It started trying to be different, and I hope that we can maintain that idea of being a different kind of campus for the 21st century.
You'll see things that you won't see in other institutions. I don't know that there's another research university of this caliber in the country with the types of students that we have here and that kind of diversity. It's pretty exciting.
I love sharing that. It's like so heartwarming. So yeah, as you heard, people reminiscing about Carol, myself included, just can't underestimate the importance of having folks who have a vision and who are willing to see that vision from beginning to end. And Carol did that, and she did it when she had breast cancer. In that process, she went back and she went into remission, and then she retired from the university, and she was still considering working for another one or others. But then her breast cancer returned, and eventually she succumbed to it. She always promised the founding students, particularly the freshmen who started there, that she would be back for their graduation in 2009. But apparently she was so ill that she wasn't able to make it, and she passed away about 3 to 4 months or 5 months after their commencement ceremony in May of 2009. So the question is, how does Carol Tomlinson-Keasey relate to these CE themes? And I'm just going to highlight 2 of them. So this individual and community, and this people in place. So like the idea of like creating a common purpose. In working with Carol when I was a student leader, and student body president, what she did and what she continued to do in her final years as the leader of the campus was to continue to have people think about what the common purpose was of the university, which is to give access to students from across the San Joaquin Valley and across the state to a UC education. Now, the biggest difference between a UC and a CSU is that the UC is like principally research, and the faculty there are hired to do research. And at a CSU, faculty are hired to basically do both or split their time between research and teaching. But at a university, it's almost exclusively do your research, bring your graduate students, bring your undergraduate students if you can along, and to create that experience. So she always kept people focused on the idea of what that campus would mean to the region and to the state, and particularly to those students who would not be able to get into maybe their top choice, or to like the more prestigious UC campuses like Berkeley and Los Angeles and San Diego, to that point where everyone who's eligible for a UC education should be able to get it, and UC Merced would function as a valve. On the people in place dimension, making this creative connection, one thing, she grew up in the East Coast, and then came out west to be a professor and into the academy. And then she took what is called the most uncommon path, because she was an educator, then an administrator. Then she moved right up to the system level work. And then at the system level, she's appointed by this UC's president, like the top dog, to be able to say, you're going to lead this charge. And when she did that, she didn't see it like, okay, the UC sending me to the San Joaquin Valley to go build a campus. What she saw was like, I need to build this political network and attach the idea of a campus to the people who are here, from the elected officials at the federal, state, and local level, to the community leaders, to the future generations of students who would go into the campus. So she consistently and constantly was making waves through the valley, engaging people with the valley. She was basically like this superhuman figure who would go and share the story and basically evangelize the importance of a UC campus in this part of the state. So she made this connection with the people who are living there, from the farm workers and their children to the people building the new homes and the new areas, to the property, to the farmers and the landowners, to the resident who thought that maybe the UC would, for their kids, they would have to leave the Central Valley, and now they didn't anymore. So in my mind, that's how Carol relates to these, at least 2 of these 6 themes. So with that, I'll share this last link, and I'll wrap it up with this: the passing of Carol. So Carol passed away in 2009, October. And one thing I've done when I was a student and eventually a graduate student at UC Merced is when I would have students on campus or in my classrooms, I would take them out of class one day, and it'd be in October, which is, as you know, is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I would walk them out to the quad. And at the quad, there's this stone that has a plaque that honors Carol. So I would go out like ahead of my students and then cover the rock and the plaque. And I would ask my students, I said, if anyone can tell me what the plaque on this rock says, like, you get an A right away, like immediately. I'm in the class, like, no, like, I'm giving it to you right now. Like, so everyone's like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then I would read this press release to the students. And my hope was to connect them to a past that they would never know, at least one-to-one, but that helped to have them realize that this physical place that they're a part of, the community that they're having, the friendships that they've established, in many ways is the result of one person and their leadership. Obviously, there's dozens and hundreds and thousands of people who made it happen, but in this case, we always honored Carol for the leadership that she gave to the institution and to the people of California. So with that, I appreciate you taking the time to listen in. I'll go ahead and stop the recording and have our discussion, but thanks for joining, and look forward to our conversation. So take care and have a good night.